All right, we're live. Hi, Esther.
Hi, how are you?
Good, good, good. Welcome so much to the So Powerful Spring Summit. We're really honored to have you be a special keynote speaker.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be part of this.
Yeah. Well, let me formally introduce you. For those of you who aren't familiar, let me introduce Esther Mkandawire. She is our amazing program director and the founder of the Needs Care Center for orphans and vulnerable children in Lusaka, Zambia, in a community called Nombe Compound. And we've partnered together since 2009. I think it's been so over a decade now. And it's just been the honor of our life. So, Esther, we're so grateful that you're able to join us by video and take time today to share your story. Welcome again.
Thank you so much. My name's Esther Mkandawire, and I'm a mother to, right now, I would say 1,000 children, a sister to 1,000 women and ladies, a grandmother, of course, to 1,000 grandchildren. Reason being, I'm working here in Ngombe, and I feel to be part of Ngombe so much. This is why I call myself a mother, a grandmother, and a sister to many. Thank you.
Ah, a mother to 1,000. And those are precious,
Yes,
precious babies. I've met so many of them, and they are amazing children. And your work has touched so many people's lives. Would you start by
thank
just
you.
talking to us a little bit about how the Needs Care Center for Orphans and Vulnerable Children started, and your call for, serving children and seeing the need in your community? When did it start? How did God prompt you to begin the work? And take us back in time and tell us a little bit about how that initially began to play out in your life.
Thank you so much. Needs Care was founded in 2003. That was in August. And this was after an observation that there were a lot of children in the community who were in school. So really what inspired me was the children in the community who were not in school, because to me this was strange to see children not going to school. And I talked to my friends who are also part of Needs Care board members. I asked them, because they had been in the community for a long time, I had to ask them why children were not in school. So after some discussion, it came to my knowledge that there was only one government school by then, and we had some private schools within, but parents were not able to pay for the tuition fees for the children. And to me, I thought, okay, what we needed was just shelter, without knowing we needed a lot of things for the school to run and for us to provide standard education. So in 2003 August, Needs Care was formed, and we started with 96 children. So far, I would say we have had hundreds and hundreds of children who have graduated from Needs Care, going to higher schools, and some going to colleges. It was unfortunate this morning I was busy with in a meeting when one of the students who graduated came and was sharing with my colleagues that right now he's working at the border between Zambia and Zimbabwe, and he's doing very fine. So to me, that was really wonderful that I missed to meet the boy who came to share about it.
Wonderful. So the community in which you were working is Nombe Compound. Um, in the statistics for Zambian health and education, Nombe is listed as one of the most desperate uh, communities in the greater Lusaka area. Um, Tell us a little bit about the context in which that was occurring. And obviously, we know because we've been there and seen with you, there's basically three types of schools. There's the government school, then there's a private school, which Americans would be very familiar with those. It's like basically local elementary school, and then a private school would be like a private Christian school for more affluent children. And then in Zambia, there's what's called a community school, which is when the local community says we need to put something together for the children. And but tell us a little bit more about the context of the orphan crisis, because of HIV/AIDS. Obviously, was very prominent in 2003. What was the community like back then, and what were some of the most pressing issues you encountered?
Ngombe community is on the outskirts of Roma and Karundu townships. So Ngombe initially, this is a place which belonged to one of the white farmers who was called Mr. Galon. So Ngombe in our local language, Ngombe, when we translate it to English, it means cow. So Ngombe compound, this is a site on the farm which was used for grazing the cow. This is where the name Ngombe comes from. So the place, our place here, it was used for grazing cow. Then when Galun was getting old and he started like changing the system, I was told that he gave this part of land to one of his workers who was working at his farm. So this compound was named after the Galun farms, being a grazing place for the cows. So in 2003, Ngombe compound, I would say even up to now, it's highly poverty. Then also we have a lot of cases of illiteracy and HIV/AIDS. So this HIV/AIDS is due to the poverty levels that we have and which are so high within our community. Most of the children, they were not in school, and right now, some they are in school, but again, the challenge is when they reach their 7th grade, they have nowhere to go. This is the instances that has been happening with needs care. When we started, we are providing education from pre-class, which is kindergarten or reception, up to the 7th grade. So after the 7th grade, children had nowhere to go, meaning they have to go back to the community. And this has been a challenge. So after observing like a lot of children were in the community, this is where we thought like maybe coming up with a shelter, it would be helpful for the children to start learning. Little did we know what was required for us to give standard education to the community. Then from there, as it started, when it started, Needs Care started from nothing, from nowhere, just from the hearts of compassion. Like, I felt these children needed something. Even one soul or two children, three souls, to me, it was going to make a difference. And so when we started as a team, you know, when you're starting up something, a lot of people, they have expectations, but when you go into something, they don't see anything coming out. This is where most of my board members had to pull out. And for some time they stayed there, they couldn't contribute anything. So it was like on my own, because I felt I had it. And to me, putting a smile on a baby's child was making me happy. That was my driving force. So in 2007, we started knocking on people's offices, and we had to take an application to World Vision Zambia. Then we were told by then they were not operating in Lusaka, but by chance, in case anything came through, they would consider us. Up to 2008, we were considered on the program for GI care. And through the GI care, I would say this is what has also contributed to Needs Care to be where it is right now. We've been given some GI cares, which I would say maybe commodity grants, because we are given some desks, some books for the children to be reading, clothes, footwear. These were to motivate the children to come to school. Then also under the program with World Vision, there was a program called Rapids. The Rapids program is what gave way to us to really know and understand the project like within Ngombe, what Ngombe compound was. Through the Rapids program, we had the caregivers who are going for outreach. And through the outreach, we learned a lot of things in the households. And this is where also we had to come up with a sewing group under World Vision. We were given some sewing machines and some of the fabrics to start the tailoring. Then Jason visited us with his team in 2009. From there, we started working together. He promised, of course, like, I'll do my best when I get back home. And when he went home, he got back to me. We could chat. Then he started sending something for us. Then after some time, he told me, Esther, I'm giving the bank too much. So I feel I need to stop here. So I'm still thinking for something else. And he said, we need to pray about it. For sure, we continued praying about it. And in 2010, we were introduced to another organization called Kids for the Kingdom. This was through Jason's efforts and support. Then Kids for the Kingdom came on board. They started also helping us with some education materials and funding. They came on board to get us a land, construct the primary school where we are right now. And it hasn't been an easy way for us in the community because people did not appreciate education. So we had and are still making efforts to sensitize the community, educate the community on the importance of education. Mm-hmm. As I still speak to you right now, we have a lot of children in the community who are not in school. We have high rates of poverty, and we also have high rates of HIV due to poverty. It's so saddening that most of the children are born with HIV because already the parents, they are infected. Mm-hmm. So it's not an easy thing to come through, more especially when we do the outreach program where we visit the households. It's so bad and sad.
Yeah. I remember that first visit. And at that time, you were meeting in a partially completed church. And that was in 2009 when we visited you initially in March of 2009. But that was at that point you had, I think, close to 400 or 500 children you were serving. So from 2003 to 2009, you had grown a lot. You were in the church building for a number of years.
Sure.
Yeah. The community need and the lack of an emphasis on education continues today, but you've made so much progress. At Needs Care, how many children would you say are there now? 1,400, or what's your thought on the attendance?
Right now, I would say we have about 1,560 children.
Wow.
Those that we are supporting direct. Mm-hmm. And now with an introduction of the high school, we still expect the number to go up. Yeah. Then apart from the high school, I would say we are so grateful to So Powerful because we are still working with the government to give us the certificate to start operating fully as a skills training where we want to do electrical and mechanics. So this will also provide more skills to the youth. And so far, I would say I have a list of about 150 children. Unfortunately, these are just boys, not girls. So if it opens, we also want to encourage more girls to join in the skills, which I'm sure, as you are aware, there are certain skills we say these are for the boys and these are for the girls. So like mechanics and electrical, mostly here we say, no, these are specifically for the boys. But we are still working it hard, like we encourage the girl child to also be part of it.
Sure, yeah.
So our numbers expect to rise.
Wow. And you're sitting right now in the new vocational training center. And just as context, just to expand a little bit on the building story, when you were meeting in the partially completed church, I'll always remember when you contacted us and said the church board and owners are saying that we have to leave because the church is being completed, and they were ready to use the church. And you
Mm-hmm.
didn't exactly know where your next physical location was going to be. And as to revisit your comments, in 2010, we were giving $100 a month, and Bank of America charged us $50 for a wire fee. So every month, Esther would receive $50 and Bank of America would receive $50. And so I was just like, this is the worst. So I talked to the man you mentioned for Kids for the Kingdom. His name was Greg. He offered to cover the wire fees so that the $100 that we could contribute um, would go straight to you. And then, as it happens, Greg came to visit you with some donors for Kids for the Kingdom when they were on a trip in sub-Saharan Africa. And the donors were inspired and wrote a check for buying property just across the road from
The
the
church.
church building, which is still there, and we've been there now since then. And that property and the completion of your school was, and I call it a miracle. I think it was a miracle, is a miracle of God's
That's a great
provision. So
miracle.
yeah,
It has been a miracle because, when you're using someone's building, more especially a school and a church, the church is a holy place, which we respect so much. And being used as a school, I really appreciate the pastor and his church members because it was not easy. Then
yeah,
I also appreciate the teachers who are always there to make sure that the children do not vandalize the church properties.
mm-hmm.
And when they started renovating the church, it became a threat to us because each and every time they would tell us to say, immediately we are done with the building, you should find a way out of this. And we didn't have any way, like, where are we going to go? Where are we going to take the children? So it was quite a challenge issue that when Kids for the Kingdom came on board to say they will purchase the land, construct the school, to us it was more or less like a dream. And to me, I would say, even right now, I'm saying I don't believe what I have been through with the school and what we have right now with the women. I can assure you, like, I'm seated in a story building right now. I'm on top of the building where if I stand, I can see on top of the houses. And this is the first structure to be built in Ngombe. And just the whole setup of the structure, a lot of people are so amazed to like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
so we have such a building here in
A
Ngombe. We thought
two-story
this
building.
building.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
So really, I would say God is great
yeah,
because where we've come from and where we are right now, it's only God who can explain, because I
yeah,
fail to explain. To me, I would say even right now, to me, it's more or less like it's a dream. And there are certain people who could come and then they'll ask, who is the owner of this building? Then everybody's quiet, we just look at them. I'm asking, who is the owner of this building? So we only say, I think this building is God's building because what has transpired
yeah,
is something that is amazing. That's something that I cannot explain. Like me personally, I cannot explain.
yeah,
And this is why I always ask God to use me as a vessel, because I personally, as an individual, I cannot accomplish what has been accomplished here at Needs Care.
sure.
if you can imagine, we started with a community school from nothing, completely nothing.
Yeah.
And right now, we have our own school building. And from the school building where we have 1,560 children, we are now working with 50 women who are being paid, meaning their households have been empowered.
Yeah.
We are giving something to the community which they never expected. And I'm so humbled with so powerful.
Yeah.
With the criteria that has been used so far, the women that we are working with, some are not, let me say 80% of the women, they are not learned, they've never been in school. The 20%, some they've just gone maybe up to the 7th grade, and that is the highest grade so far that we have. But despite being illiterate, these women, they have a future right now, working with So Powerful. They have a stipend, that's a monthly stipend. They are able to provide for the households. Most of them were having 1 meal per day, but right now they're at least they're trying to manage to give a meal to the households. And the other challenging factor that has made poverty to be the highest in our communities, because after the redundancy, most of the people were told to resign. Some they were just dismissed. This created like most men to go back home and nowhere to get employment. So the coming of the women to the center, working, getting a stipend, this has really improved the life and living of the people within our community, which we are saying we are so grateful to God and so grateful to So Powerful to agree to be used as well as vessels that, despite being miles and miles away, at least they are able to help us here.
Amen. It's an honor. Yeah. And let's talk a little bit more about how the sewing cooperative work came together, and then eventually the soap team and the Three Esters Farm project. So when we first started working together, the initial idea was, and I remember so clearly in 2010, the challenge was, how do we have the moms there make something that would be a blessing to the community? Not a trinket or a tourist item, something that would be exported. You know, there's other program in Nombe Compound that we both are familiar with where they make an item and Americans take it and try to sell it in support of the program, which is a nice model, but it just didn't seem like it was something that we could do. And so the challenge was, how could we find something that the moms could make? And I remember going back and forth. It wasn't fast. It took us a while. And I remember when you came back and said, we have an idea, school uniforms. What if we could make school uniforms and knit sweaters, and that could work? And so that was our first project. So that was from 2010 to 2014 was the main thing we did with a small group. I think we had 8 people for
Yes.
what was it, 3 or 4 years. We only had 8 people in the team. Describe that time period where that was starting to come together, the whole journey from not having uniforms at the school to having uniforms, and how the moms began to play a role. Did it make a difference in the school and in the community back then? What were your thoughts on that part of the story?
The sewing project started by when World Vision donated some sewing machines. There were 4 sewing machines which were donated by World Vision, and different types of fabrics. Then when we started with us, we went direct, like we wanted this project to be making money. Then also the people we had to employ were those people who already had the skills in sewing of the jazz and sewing of the uniforms. So now when Jason came, we discussed more on the challenges that we are having as a school. So one of the challenges that we had to share as a school was lack of uniforms. Reason being, parents were not able to manage getting a uniform for their children. And so some of the children were always coming to school with one clothes, which at times were so dirty that some of the children could start intimidating the other children. As you may know how children play at times, they would laugh at their friends to say, you always come in one dress, you don't change. You always use one shirt, you don't change. And some of the children who were intimidated couldn't continue facing their friends, like they were being bullied. So some stopped. And this is the challenge that I shared with Jason. Then he asked, like, okay, how best can we help that these children come back to school? Then we thought of the idea of making a uniform so that if all of these children were in a uniform, it would be easier for them to come to school and not bully each other or intimidate each other. Then we had to think twice because the parents were not able to buy the uniforms. How were we going to help the parents buy the uniform? This is where we discussed, like, okay, how about if we made it like they start paying in installments? Why we wanted them to be paying for the uniform? Because we wanted them to have an ownership to say, I've bought a uniform for my child. This child should go to school. And that is what has been happening. Up to now, the children, they come to school, they have a uniform, and they look very smart in a uniform. Then the payment, they are done in installments. Then when we started with those 8, part of them, they were not lent. And so powerful had to start paying the lecturers or the tutors who were teaching the other members of the group to know how to sew. So that program went on for 1 year where the lecturers were being paid. Then eventually, even those seamstresses, at the end of the day, they started getting a small stipend to help each other. Then as we were going on, this is when So Powerful introduced the reusable pads. With the reusable pads, as I earlier on mentioned to say, the moms, the ladies, they are getting a stipend at the end of the day. But that is not the end of the project. The end of the project is to see the girl child attend school throughout. And so, with the reusable pads, we have partnered up with about 29 schools within Ngombe compound, where we do go and distribute these reusable pads. As we give out the reusable pads, I would say I'm so grateful to everybody who has been making the pieces, because in each piece there is an encouraging card, and these encouraging cards, they are a motivation to the girl child. Even if they wanted to remain from school, after reading the card, they also feel it to say, somebody I don't know, somebody I've not seen is encouraging me to go to school. Someone has not seen is telling me that they love me. You know, I would say us as Blacks, when we hear a white person is sharing their love with us, we feel so extremely happy. It's like God is with me. So the pieces, they are really motivating.
Yeah.
And I would say to all the seamstresses worldwide, they're my inspirations, because it's not easy to sit down, do nothing, but make some pieces which are sent to Africa. If there's anything that I treasure most in my life, it's the time. Because with money, I would say if I lost money today, I'll be able to say, Jason, I'm running out of money. Can you help me with $50? I'm sure for real. You may tell me, okay, Esther, after 2 weeks, I'll send you the money. Then that money will come to me. But with time, no one can give you back the time that you've spent. So I'm so humbled to all the seamstresses worldwide. who are sparing their time, sit on their sewing machines, and make the pieces. Write an encouraging card to a girl they don't know. It's really impacting a lot of girls here in Zambia.
Yeah. Well, it's an honor to be part of it as well. I've never made a purse, but this year our goal is 24,000 purses. And we hope
Okay,
to reach so many beneficiaries in Zambia. Let's talk for a moment or two about the expansion into Livingston
Livingston.
and the dream of going forward even beyond Livingston. And I should say again, the vocational training center you're sitting in, the goal there, the capacity really is about 50 team
Mhm.
members, but there's so much need. There's so much need. And so
Yes.
Livingston is the second location. We started in January, I think.
With January.
And it's gone, in my opinion, amazingly well. But we'd love to hear your thoughts. And then also where Livingston is in terms of the Western provinces and the ability to, expand into in the future, Kitwe or Ndola or the Copperbelt area. What are your thoughts on taking the So Powerful Purse program national all around Zambia?
With the expansion that we've done in Livingston, we started it was just a mere discussion when Jason was asking, can we expand? Then I was like, yes, we can expand. But to me, I was like, where are we going to expand to? And my thinking was maybe within Lusaka in another location. But again, we had to look at other places like distance places. How do we encourage the girl child to go to school? Because with Lusaka, I would say here at Needs Care with the seamstresses, we are able to meet the demand for Lusaka. But what have these other places? And so Jason suggested, Esther was thinking of Livingston, Kabwe, Ndola, Kitwe, Chingola. Then I was like, oh, that's a good idea. I think we have to go countrywide. Then I had to request we make a trip to Livingston. We went, we did an assessment, and we discovered there was need for more reusable pads in Livingston and also need for job creation in Livingston. Livingston is a capital city, tourist capital city. And being a tourist capital city, we have high rates of HIV AIDS within the community. Hence, poverty is also leading in the place. And most of the children, they are not in school. Some they can go to school, like the girl child, they do go to school, but during their menstrual periods, they are unable to go to school because they have nothing to use. And so this is how we okay, we go for Livingston. And just the time we went to do an assessment on Livingston, we had to enroll about 5 of the members who were so much willing to join our group, despite not seeing anything from So Powerful, just seeing us talking to them, they were encouraged and really wanted to join the group. And so that was in December. January, they started making some phone calls. And if you can imagine, somebody, I would say, who is really in need makes a phone call asking for the job. And when I would ask them, where did you get your airtime? They would say, no, I just use the one kwacha, because I feel this job will be my future.
Wow.
It was really heartbreaking to me. And at times when they just mention of Livingston, I
Yeah.
could cut the line, then tell them to say, let me go call.
So let me
I would
just
call back.
reference that terminology for a moment for everybody to make sure people catch what you just said. So somebody calls you on their mobile phone and they're desperate and you say, where did you get the airtime for your phone? and they said, I used my last kwacha, which is about 8 cents, to call you with the hope that it would be an opportunity. Wow.
Mhm.
Amazing. And so how has it gone? That the group in Livingston seems to be coming together nicely. The facility looks
They are
wonderful.
they are doing very fine. They are doing very fine. You know,
Wow.
when someone has it by the heart, even the expectation or the results is so encouraging. And I have quite a big number of seamstresses in Livingston. I would say a waiting list.
Really? So,
I have
okay,
a waiting list.
let's talk about
So
the
if if God allows me to say, can you get 50 women today?
I was just
That
going to
would be
ask you
very
that.
possible.
What do you feel like? Do you feel like 50 people in Livingston would be a good goal?
Yes, 50 people would be a good goal.
Yeah.
The only challenge right now that I would say is, as seamstresses, we need some space, like a big open space,
Mm-hmm.
the way we have it right now. And unfortunately, most of the houses that we are getting, they've been designed in a way like it's a house
Yeah.
and it's people to be staying in this house.
Yeah.
So it's not easy for us to find a big room.
Yeah.
But if we can say we have a chance that God allows us, and the vision that we have for Livingston, we get land or we get somewhere, the big building which has some space where all the ladies are in one room.
Yeah.
Why I recommend the ladies to be in one room is because in case one forgets about something,
Mm-hmm.
the other will be there to help, to say, oh, no, here you missed, here you missed.
Sure.
So for Livingston, we are really heading there that we have
And
50.
the nice
Then
part about
also,
Livingston. Oh, okay. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
also on us going countrywide,
Yeah.
it's because basically I'm also looking at going into far places, like in the bush. You know, here in town or in the towns where we are operating from, the children are able maybe to get a t-shirt, tow it, and use it as a pad. But in the villages, they don't even have t-shirts or chitenge materials. And this is why, like when we went to Minilunga with Fred, the recent trip, most of the girls, like the headmaster said, the children do not come to school because they have nothing to use. And it's quite challenging. He even said that when we go back, we have to go to more places where a girl child is not even permitted, not even a bit, like they go to school because of the menstrual periods. So he was saying we really need to go and touch a lot of lives in
Mm-hmm.
such places.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why, sorry, Jason, I've always been on you to say, immediately we get registered, we have to work with the district education
Yeah.
board secretariat
Yep.
so that they'll be in the position to identify the most needy places in these areas.
Yeah.
And we have to really go flat out. So
The need is great.
immediately we get registered, I'm
Yeah.
sorry
Yeah.
to say that I will not be a Lusaka resident. I feel
Yeah.
what we are doing is not enough.
Yeah.
People in the places, Livingstone, there is also Kazungula area.
Mm-hmm.
There is Shangombo where we are supposed to do the distribution,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot more places where
Yeah.
they need our help.
So you're
Mhm.
serving 29 schools in Nombe compound, which by the way, we've met the headmasters and you know, the principals, we'd call it in the US, of the schools. They're incredibly grateful. They don't it's just like a huge, amazing gift that you would come to their school to help contribute to their school students' success. It's an amazing
Mhm.
gift. But 29 in Nombe, but in all of Zambia, there are 3,800 schools, and many
Mhm.
of them are
Mhm.
very rural. I mean, incredibly rural. Like drive for 12 hours to Livingston, and that's a big city. But then to get to the Western provinces, you're talking about another 12-hour road trip in no
Mhm.
like sand roads, like nothing, like just out into the wild, huh?
Then sometimes you'd find like small cars cannot go through; they can't pass. And
Mm-hmm.
this is why this is when it has come to my attention, like why World Vision uses Land Cruiser vehicles,
Mm-hmm.
because the
Four-wheel
Land
drives.
Cruiser
Mm-hmm.
can go, the four-wheel
Yeah.
drive, it can go anywhere.
Yeah. And these
So
schools are in desperate need of the PERS program. And I think it's become
there are
clear
so
to us this
much,
year. This is the goal. This is the
they
goal.
are so much in need of our help.
Mm-hmm.
And this is at times I feel like I'm wasting my time being here. I feel I need to go there and help. Just giving a child some reusable pads and the card itself and the pace. The children are so motivated. It's like we are giving them the force, like it's a wheel for them. It's a driving force for them to attend school and achieve their desired goals.
Sorry,
Then
apologize. Yeah, still there.
working in Livingston.
Yeah,
Livingston is our tourist city.
yeah.
It's in Southern Province, where we share borders with Botswana and Zimbabwe. And that's where the Big Falls is. So we'll be moving from Livingston, going to another district, which is northern part of Zambia, which is Ndola, Kitwe, or Chingola. That's our next location. From there, what we are looking at is to be in all the districts so that we make sure the girls are given an opportunity to education. Then also the ladies or mummies are also given an opportunity to work within these places
Mm-hmm.
for us to be making more reusable pads. As Jason earlier on mentioned to say, SOPAWAF wanted to help the Zambian women, like how do we empower their households? There are some organizations which they would make, like the women, they would make some shirts, make some baskets, anything like the artworks. And once they make they are exported to USA. At the end of the day, they get their monies, the ladies from here. But are we helping the community at large the way we are supposed to? No. If we can get the things, we take them to USA, we sell them, we give this
Mm-hmm.
dollars to this woman.
Mm-hmm.
What of the neighbors? How are they going to benefit?
Yeah.
What of the children that are in the neighbors? How are they going to benefit? So to me, so powerful coming to Ngombe, introducing the reusable parts or supporting needs care, it is more or less like it's a two-way traffic. Why I'm saying it's a two-way traffic, here is the lady who comes for employment here at Needs Care, gets a salary, goes back home. And there is a student in another school who gets a pace and some reusable pads. Then these paces, they are not given like one pace to a girl child. They are given, each child gets two paces. The paces they get, one is for their siblings or their mothers, then one they keep for themselves. Why we came up to this is because the first time when we gave them one piece each, we observed like after 6 months, the pieces were nowhere to be seen. And so when we were doing an evaluation on the reusable pads, it came to our attention that the siblings, those who were older than the ones who had gotten the pieces, some, even their mothers or their aunties, were getting them from them and started using. So you find like, here's this poor child, they grab the piece from her and they are told like, you go back to school, you'll be given another piece. So this is after evaluation of the piece, we thought like, it's better we give 2 pieces to each child so that if one was taken away from her, she also remains with one which she is using and continue coming to school.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's conclude by just spending a moment or two thanking and encouraging the so powerful purse makers, the ladies around the world who will be watching this. If you had a word of encouragement to them or a comment you'd like to share with them, what would it be?
I would say I'm so grateful to what the ladies are doing. Jason, can I ask, with the persons, do we have any man who is sewing? Since you said you are not sewing, do we have any man? Have you come across a
Maybe a
man
few.
who said,
If we have a few, I haven't singled them out. I'm not sure. They could be, but I'm not sure. Mostly ladies.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, all the same, I would say thank you so much to all the ladies who have been sewing these pieces. But again, I'm sure some of them, they've been having men behind them, supporting them. Instead of them to be busy in the kitchen or busy doing what they were supposed to do, at least the husbands have always been there to support the women like, okay, I'll take care of the child, continue with your sewing. So I would say hands up to those men. And I would say, Jason, thank you so much for giving Cinnamon a chance to be busy on the machine. Then Doug, thank you so much for letting Sue to be part of the So Powerful. Instead of her being with the business that you do, at least you've spared us time that Sue is part of the So Powerful and doing what we are doing as So Powerful. Then to the ladies, I would say, I'm so humbled with you. When you look at the pace, you do think like it's just something funny that you make during your spare time. And when you write the cards, all you think is like, I'm just writing a card for someone, but you don't know the impact that you are giving to the girls who read the cards. The cards have been so touching, and most of the girls, it has awakened them to see how God loves people, how God can provide to people through different ways and means. Just as I said earlier on, time is the most precious and expensive thing that one can give to a person. So your time that you give to So Powerful is so much. And I would say my words cannot fulfill how I feel when I see these girls reading their cards. They are so happy to read their cards. Then So Powerful with the donors. Thank you so much for supporting us. Buying of the materials, it hasn't been an easy thing. This is a print of dollars which comes in through. Whereas we have other people who could use, even new people, you can use your dollars on something else which is like luxury, but instead of using that, you've preferred to help the vulnerable child here in Ngombe, the vulnerable woman here in Ngombe. We are so grateful. I would say even me, my life has really changed. You are touching my life through the way you are using me by being here, being used as a vessel, as I always ask, I've come to learn a lot of things, and it has also changed my life. The way I used to see life and the way I've seen it now is completely different. I'm so humbled to everyone for the support that you've been giving to us. It may be not financially, but even the prayers that you give, the wisdom that you pray, for me to have the wisdom, Jason to have the wisdom, Cinnamon to have this wisdom, all the board members to have the wisdom, that is something that is so amazing, because you are putting in your time just to pray for us. May God richly, abundantly bless you all.
Amen. And let me just add a final comment, Esther. It has just been truly one of the honors of our life to collaborate together, to co-create programs together, to solve difficult challenges alongside and with you and in support of you. And it always feels like a challenge for us to be so far removed, but our hearts are there with you every day. And it's just been an
Amen.
incredible gift to us to be able to see the community change, the individuals' lives change, the children's lives change, the growth and impact of the school and of your ministry. And God's just doing something very, very special through our collaboration together. And it's just remarkable to me that people around the world continue to learn about the program and come alongside us. You said that when you look at the physical buildings, it seems like a dream to you. And I guess on my
Mhm.
side, sometimes when I realize we have people joining us from Scotland or Australia or New Zealand or India or in all these places around the world, it just doesn't seem possible to me. Like that's where, in my mind, I think, how is this happening? And all we can say is, look what the Lord has done. He's doing
Sure.
a new thing and an exciting
Mm.
thing and using us together, all of us, everyone who's watching this video, with your prayers and purse making and financial support. You're making all of this possible, but really God's making it possible and using all of us,
Amen.
you on the ground and the team there in Nombe Compound and in Livingston now. And
Amen.
it's just an incredible honor. So I want to thank you again, Esther, for taking the time with us. I'm so grateful that Zoom video connection worked flawlessly. And so we were able to have a wonderful conversation today. And we really, really
Sure.
appreciate the chance to connect. So thank you so much again. And God bless.
Thank you. God bless you too.